sergeants at arms this morning that are serving us and doing a great job. Gary Bridges, Michael Norton, Tammy Ammon, Tracy Carr, and Evan Stroud. Thank you for serving us. And I'd also like to recognize our pages. If you would introduce yourself and let us know who's sponsoring you.
Hi, my name is Jalen Chambliss. I'm from here in Raleigh, and my sponsor is Senator Dan Blue.
I'm Marky Wampler. I'm from Kings Mountain, and my sponsor is Ted Alexander.
I'm Kate Hinton. I'm from Kinley, North Carolina, and my sponsor is Mr. Buck Newton.
I'm Landon Walters. I'm from Lumberton, North Carolina, and my sponsor is Danny Britt.
I'm Nathan Carter from Lumberton, North Carolina, and my sponsor is Senator Danny Britt.
I'm George Merritt from Raleigh, North Carolina, and my sponsor is Senator Choudhury.
I'm Dutch Holland from Raleigh, North Carolina, and my sponsor is Senator Rabin.
Thank you, pages, for being here this week. I hope you enjoy your week and learn a whole lot. So today's agenda, we have 5 bills, 2 we'll be voting on, and 3 are for discussion only. We heard the first 2 bills last week and discussed those thoroughly, and so I think there have been some changes and amendments for these 2 bills to hear and vote on today. So we will start with 369, and I believe there is an amendment. Do you want to start with the amendment?
Yes, that'll be fine.
Senator Hanig is recognized to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to thank the bill sponsors for working so diligently and patiently with myself and the other members to make this a better bill. I think we're in a much better spot than where we were last week, so thank you for that. The amendment, H369 is it on the dashboard yet? I'm sorry. It's on the dashboard. This amendment is pretty self-explanatory. Section C, local governments located in the coastal area, those terms are defined under GS 113A-103. That is all counties that are in the CAMA area, which is 20 coastal counties. So, and I stand for any questions, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hanig. Are there questions or discussions on the amendment from members? If there's no discussion, Senator Bergen moves to adopt the amendment. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment is adopted, and we are now on the bill. Okay, so we now can, Representative, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you so much. First, I'd like to recognize Representative Brody, Dial, and Penny as my co-sponsors. And also, I'd like to recognize Senator Alexander, who's done a yeoman's job, hard work of chasing rabbits, so to speak. And also Senator Jarvis for helping us to get to this point today. So after last week's meeting, we identified some opportunities to work together. And part of this has to do with the topography, the geo part of eastern North Carolina is so different than the Piedmont, the western part. Also, it's impacted by some communities going from 5,000 during the wintertime to 30,000 during the summertime. And so we wanted to find a way and an opportunity to try to work with that, to find opportunities to find agreement. The CAMA, Coastal Area Management Act, was done in the 60s. It took 7 years to put it together, 4 years to vote on it, and 2 years to actually implement it. And so what that does by general statute is identify those 20 counties that these would be exempted from this bill. So with that being said, I'll stand for any questions, Madam Chair.
Are there questions from the committee? Senator Mayfield.
Thank you. Just a word of thanks to the chairs and to Senator Hanig and perhaps Senator Rabin, who I thought I just saw come in, to getting to a resolution of the issue that was raised last week so that the bill can move forward. Thanks so much.
further questions from the committee members? If not, we have some members from the public that have signed up to speak on this bill. Stephanie Cruz, we'll limit it to 1 minute for now. Please state your name and who you're with.
Hi, good morning. My name is Stephanie Watkins Cruz. I'm the Director of Policy at the North Carolina Housing Coalition. I'm really thankful for the time to speak today. So I'm here on behalf of the North Carolina Housing Coalition in support of HB 369 and the amendment. I'm here for two main reasons. The first is that we know that North Carolina has a 760,000 housing unit gap over the next 5 years, but I also want to mention that 1.2 million North Carolinians are cost burdened, and that's not a specific income limit. That's all North Carolinians. Of all North Carolinians, 1.2 million of them are cost burdened, and so they're paying more than 30% of their income. The second reason is this is an example, a really tangible, clear example of land use reform that can bring down housing costs by bringing down development costs. So on behalf of the North Carolina Housing Coalition, thank you for working together and figuring out a path forward. We support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker will be Jason Melber and then Aaron.
Good morning, Senators. By now, you should know me. I'm Jason Melber. With the Americans for Prosperity of North Carolina. Last month, we conducted a survey that found 64% of voters would support this legislation. Excessive zoning rules, parking mandates, and lot size requirements have increased housing costs and limited homeownership opportunities. House Bill 369 would reduce and eliminate mandatory parking requirements, minimum lot sizes, and oversized parking space rules. This will lower development costs and allow land to be used more efficiently for housing and economic growth. For small businesses and housing developers, costly parking mandates can be the difference between a project moving forward or never getting built at all. We appreciate your support on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee, for allowing me to speak today. My name is Erin Winia. I'm the Director of Government Affairs at the North Carolina League of Municipalities. I appreciate the care that went into the amendments today, but I do want to address some of the practical effects that will happen if and when this bill passes in your communities. People still will bring their cars. Particularly in residential areas, they need a place to park those cars. We know that if there's insufficient parking, what will end up happening is people will park on other people's property, in yards, on the sides of roads, which narrows those roads and the ability of public safety vehicles to get through them. They also may park in front of nearby businesses, which reduces the parking available for those businesses' customers. This isn't theoretical. These are things we have already seen in our communities, and we've heard from city officials about this. What city officials foresee are complaints that they will have to field and potential public safety impacts. For these reasons, we urge you to consider either modifying the bill further or voting to oppose it. Thank you.
If there are no further questions from the committee, do I have a motion? Okay, Senator Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I am glad that we have been working on this bill and come to some decisions that might help some people. I still have to make sure I stand for my city, which does not fall within the amendment that made some changes. And so we still have some issues and concerns, and I want to make sure that I made that public because it's key that wherever you represent, if you can't stand up and speak up, then you're not doing what you need to do. So if there's any other thing that you can do to continue to work on it, to make sure that we're including mainly Greenville with the very high student population and with these apartments and the buildings and how close they are, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Smith. So if there are no further questions, then we have a motion from Senator Bergen for a favorable report to House Bill 369 as amended, rolled into a new PCS unfavorable to the original bill with the referral to Senate rules, and to authorize staff to make any necessary technical and conforming changes. Thank you so much, Senator Bergen. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye. Any opposed? No. The motion passes, and we thank you for being here today.
May I take a moment and say, Jennifer McGinnis, thank you so much for all the changes we sent you, and you probably wore some fingernails down trying to keep up. So Thank you so much, committee.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
Thank you so much. We will move on to the next bill, House Bill 376, which is a PCS for the committee. So is there a motion to approve the PCS? I have a motion from Senator Bergen to approve the PCS. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion passes, and I believe we may have an amendment. How do you want to handle the amendment? Okay. And who will be handling the amendment? You are. Okay. Senator Jarvis is recognized to explain the amendment.
Okay. So is the amendment on the dashboard? Does everybody have access? This amendment just simply takes the water provision. It is on, yeah. It's on. Let's see here. Okay. Can you hear me now? Is that better? This amendment simply just brings in the language, the water language from Senate Bill 369 that we just voted on, and it also has some technical corrections amended within that language. I stand for any questions.
Are there any discussions or questions on the amendment? Okay. If not, Senator Hannig moves for adoption of the amendment. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, no. The amendment is adopted, and we are back on the bill.
Okay. House Bill 376 as amended, we had it for discussion only last week. We had robust discussion. I think if there's any further questions, I'll be happy to see if we can address them, but I don't believe I need to take your time at this point.
Are there any questions from the committee? I don't think there's anyone signed up to speak on this bill, but I will allow if there's someone that didn't sign up that wants to speak on the bill from the public. Okay, if not, is there a motion? Senator Sanderson makes a motion to, he moves for a favorable report to the PCS to House Bill 376 as amended, roll into a new PCS unfavorable to the original bill with a referral to Senate rules, and to authorize staff to make any necessary technical and conforming changes. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye. Any opposed, no. And the motion passes. Thank you, Senator Jarvis. Next up, we have Senate Bill 1008. Senator Brinson, you are recognized to explain 1008 and 1009 since they are similar bills, and you are sponsoring both of those.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, we'll address both bills simultaneously since we're for discussion. Our coastal constituents are demanding that local, state, and federal governments act to protect their communities and beaches. These two bills exist because North Carolina's oceanfront shoreline policy, largely unchanged for 40 years, deserves a serious fact-based review. Senate Bill 1008 takes a limited pilot project approach. It would authorize a small number of shoreline stabilization projects at locations where oceanfront homes face imminent loss to the ocean. Projects would be selected with the help of the NC Collaboratory, monitored by the Division of Coastal Management, and subject to permitting, financial assurance, and reporting requirements. North Carolina has already made limited exceptions for terminal groins, several of which have been successful. Senate Bill 1008 asks whether newer tools such as sheet pile walls or wave attenuation systems may be appropriate to test in limited circumstances with full monitoring and removal assurances. The goal is to gather real data rather than argue in the abstract. Senate Bill 1009 takes a broader approach. It would repeal the current statutory ban on permanent hardened erosion control structures and direct the Coastal Resources Commission to regulate these structures by rule, with attention to the public beach, private property, adjacent properties, habitat, infrastructure, and mitigation. So why now? Parts of our coast have changed dramatically. The National Park Service running list shows 32 privately owned structures have collapsed along the Cape Hatteras National Seashore since 2020. 20 of them in Buxton since September 2025 alone. This is not just a private property issue. When a house falls into the ocean, debris spreads across miles of public beach, septic systems and utilities are damaged, public safety is threatened, and a local tax base disappears. We also saw the Army Corps of Engineers clean up the former Navy base in Buxton last year, and just this past weekend, erosion turned up more buried barrels. More homes are threatened in Rodanthe, North Topsail, and Figure 8 Island, and keeping Highway 12 open is a constant battle. And the fiscal reality is equally as harsh. NCDOT has spent $17 million on routine maintenance of Highway 12 in Dare County since 2010, plus $51 million more on storm repairs. On Ocracoke, the state spent nearly $19 million since 2018 on just a 2-mile stretch where the ocean consistently overtops Highway 12. And Dare County alone has $82.2 million in shoreline management efforts planned for 2026. And beach renourishment is not lasting as long as it once did. But I want to talk about what these bills are not. It's not a proposal to ignore environmental impacts. It's not a proposal to let every property owner build a seawall. It's not a proposal to abandon nourishment, dune restoration, or relocation. Neither bill waives the permitting process, nor is a fast track for widespread construction. Projects under Senate Bill 1008 will be strictly limited, closely monitored, and backed by financial assurance for removal and involve no state funds. What we're asking is whether modern site-specific options exist that would protect homes, roads, utilities, and public beaches without causing unacceptable harm. Both bills fund the collaboratory to update the state's beach and inlet management plan, last updated in 2016. This issue cannot be handled one house or one town at a time. We need a current statewide assessment of erosion trends, inlet dredging needs, beneficial use of compatible sand, and long-term shoreline management strategy. I'm not here to tell this committee that one approach will solve everything. My goal with these two bills is to start a conversation, and yes, I know the CRC Science Panel report is expected by month's end and is on their June 18th agenda. That report will be part of this conversation. A policy that was made 40 years ago should not be immune from review. Erosion rates have increased, the number of threatened structures has grown, technology and understanding of engineering stabilization have advanced. It's both reasonable and responsible to ask whether limited modern tools can produce better outcomes. Our constituents are tired of hearing no. I'm ready to stop telling them what they can't do and start working on how we can get it done. These conversations should lead to action. Our coast is changing, so let's solve these problems. Our constituents demand it, and these bills are where we start. I welcome the committee's feedback.
Are there questions from the committee? I see Senator Mayfield. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Senator Brinson. I don't think I could disagree with anything that you just said about what's happening on the coast and how frustrated coastal residents must be about what's happening. I guess I do have a couple of questions about the approach. I completely agree with you. We do need a comprehensive approach and some study, and the CRC, as you said, study does come out. I guess I'm a little concerned about sort of putting the provisions of these two bills in place before that study comes out, because that seems like a really good first step. And I guess, you know, my instinct is let's just see what happens there, see what they say, see what that might lead us to do that's different than what's here. yeah, I guess that's a question. Is why not wait until that study comes out and do something next year?
Senator Brinson, you're recognized to answer the question.
Thank you, Senator Mayfield. And as I stated in the opening remarks, that study will be part of the conversation. And so we wanted to bring these bills forward as possible solutions, and we'll see what the CRC and what the study comes out with, and that'll be part of the conversation.
Follow up. Thank you. I guess, you know, one of my questions is what if that study says additional hardened structures on the coast are not the answer, and that's not where our policy should be going, and yet we would have just passed a bill saying that we should be doing some pilot studies on hardened structures, and just, you know, again, I am not a coastal resident, and I know a little bit about coastal environments, and you know what hardened structures do, of course, is just push the problem somewhere else, right? Unless we do a hard seawall along the entire coast, somebody's getting helped and somebody's getting hurt by every seawall, by every jetty, by every terminal groin, by every bulkhead, by everything that gets put in. There is an adjacent impact that is negative. So again, I'm just concerned that these are sort of getting out ahead of an important study and might commit us to a course of action that study might say is not the right one.
Senator Brinson?
Yeah, I appreciate the comments, Senator Mayfield, and I suspect, and I appreciate the hypothetical, but again, it is a hypothetical. There are some examples out there where hardened structures have done exactly what they have intended to do and have not had impacts up and down the coastline. I'll give you an example of the Mark Bass Knight Bridge, the jetty that is there, and the terminal groin. The Coastal Review has said it's working exactly as intended. And then the other terminal groin that was under the last provision on Bald Head Island. In fact, DEQ has said in January 2024 report that it did not turn up any significant issues requiring corrective measures. So if the report said that everything was off the table, nothing's working, I would certainly question that report.
Are there further questions from committee members? Senator Grafstein, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this may be my lack of knowledge, and this may be more about the report that's being developed, but I'm looking at what can be considered in regulating erosion control structures, and to what extent do you anticipate that there need to be consideration of climate change long-term on the beach erosion process, and how these measures may or may not serve for very long? I guess I'm trying to understand, there's a much longer-term issue here that I think has not really been addressed, and maybe that's part of the report, so maybe it's not the right time for that question. I don't know.
Senator Brinson?
It may or may not be part of the report coming out of CRC. I'm not certain, but I am relatively assured. I mean, both these bills, again, give a study to the North Carolina Collaboratory, and if that is a factor, they should take it into the account in the report that we are asking for in both of these bills.
Thank you, and just a quick follow-up, Madam Chair.
Follow-up, Senator.
Thank you, and really more of a comment. Like, that seems to me it would not be rational to make any kind of decision without doing some sort of analysis of that aspect. And I think historically there's been some limitation on consideration of climate change, and I think that's probably part of why we are where we are today. So thank you.
Are there any other questions from the committee members? Senator Mayfield, you have a question?
I'm so sorry.
You're recognized.
Thank you. I have one more. So this, and maybe I guess it's this trio of bills, not necessarily these two alone. but they do two things. They sort of remove the longstanding general prohibition on hardened structures, and they remove the prohibition on state funding to build these structures. And I guess I'm worried about the long-term impact of that. If we're going to start putting state dollars toward these structures, aren't we really just committing ourselves to then again continuing to build them down the beach and down the coast for other communities?
Thank you, Senator Brinson.
Senator Mayfield, I appreciate the question, thank you, but I do want to correct you that neither of these bills involve state funds. In fact, the pilot program specifically states that it would be locally funded, and the state funds are not involved.
Sorry, follow up. Is it the third bill then? Is it 101 that does that?
I'm sorry, that's not my bill.
It's not your bill. Okay, I'll then maybe hold that comment for that.
Senator Murdoch, do you have a question?
Yeah.
You're recognized.
Yeah, question. Thank you, Madam Chair, because I thought this was still the bill that some funding is provided to the collaboratory for the
That is true.
Senator Brinson.
For
yes,
the
to
study.
Senator Brinson. Yeah, for the study. And so it's really more of a comment. I mean, if we know the CRC is working on the study, just general comment of, I still think we're just putting the cart before the horse a little bit. But I like pilots. I like the idea of them. But if we know the data's coming out a little bit later, I don't see why we couldn't look at that data and this be considered for long session instead of short session, since we're so close to getting that information before having a pilot where if things are built, even if it is without state dollars, it's just hard to kind of, once the train has left the station, it's kind of already out there. So just additional thoughts as to why to move forward with it in short session and the kind of the compact calendar we'll have now, instead of just waiting for, that is the rule-making body for all things that are going to be developed on the coastline. So if that report is coming out with those data points, it seems like that would better inform the implementation of a pilot program.
Senator Brinson.
Thank you, Senator Murdoch. None of these bills and none of these reports are mutually exclusive. They're all part of the same conversation. And so with these two bills, we're really just starting the conversation.
Thank you. Senator Jarvis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would say in all these issues, I normally always allow my colleagues from the coast to take control because they're there and they know what is going on at the coast. But I did have a question. So, when we look at other states, the research that we've done, that you've looked at, do other states use hardened structures? And if so, has it been successful? And the other question I have, if we're looking at property that's becoming undevelopable and you're losing beach lines, and we can use this as a method to be able to get houses back or structures back on the coastline, I think it's imperative for property owners to be able to have that right. And I reckon the question would be, other states using this and moving forward, and has it been successful?
Senator Brinson.
Thank you for the question, Senator Jarvis, since I didn't address other states. North Carolina has the most strict, harsh ban on hardened structures out of all the states. There are successful hardened structure programs in other states. Again, they're regulated just like we are proposing here. And I do want to clarify, we're not asking permission to make the Outer Banks look like New Jersey. We're not interested in that. But what we're looking for is limited hardened structure projects that can protect our public beaches, protect our public property, and protect our environment.
Thank you, Senator Brinson. If there are no further questions, okay, follow up, Senator Jarvis.
I reckon a follow-up to that would be, if we continue to do what we've always done, we're going to continue to lose our beaches and seawalls, and so I think this is a great step. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jarvis. If there are no further questions or comments from the committee, we have a couple people signed up to speak, and since these are two bills that we're talking about and discussing, I'll let you have 2 minutes on that. Rob LeMay is up first, and then Emma Henning.
Good morning, members. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Rob LeMay. I represent the North Carolina Coastal Federation, which has 14,000 members statewide. It will come as no surprise to any of you, I'm sure, that the Coastal Federation has serious environmental concerns with terminal groins. I'm happy to, and hardened structures on the coast. I'm happy to talk with you about those if you'd like to. I want to also thank Senator Brinson. Senator Brinson, we think that the prohibition on state funding for hardened structures is an enormously important taxpayer protection. That prohibition was led by the North Carolina Senate. Former Senator Bob Rucho insisted on that provision in the terminal groin wars of 2011, of which I'm an unfortunate veteran. And so we really appreciate and note the lack that in your bill. So thank you very much for that, and I'll reserve my comments about 1001 for the next bill. I also want to thank you for your the conversation we're having about your pilot bill. We have some disagreement about whether the pilot projects in the bill are innovative or not, and we'd like to talk with you about that. And then generally on hardened structures, I think what's important to understand is the fiscal implication of the policy that you're anticipating. Hardened structures do not solve the problem of barrier islands moving. That's part of their natural geology. The terminal groins interrupt that natural process. They move the problem to other parts of the shore, and they create more demand for beach renourishment. This state already has an unmet need for beach renourishment that reaches as much as $40 million, depending upon how that estimate is made. By expanding hardened structures, you're going to create more demand for beach intervention in the legislature and in your NER budget, and I hope that both coastal members and inland members will think about the fiscal implications of the policy that you're now considering this morning. Thank you very much.
Okay, and next, Emma, you're recognized.
Good morning. My name is Emma Hennon. I am Legislative Director for NCDEQ, which houses the Division of Coastal Management. I want to start by thanking the bill sponsors for the time that they spent with me discussing this bill. We recognize that the past year has been very difficult for the people of Buxton and Rodianthe. Secretary Wilson has spent time in the Outer Banks to learn more from community members about their concerns over threatened oceanfront structures. We support an updated investigation into that issue, and I appreciate Senator Brinson's reference to the Coastal Resources Commission's Science Panel report that is coming out later this summer. It will consider performances and trade-offs of these structures with reference to past case studies. North Carolina's beaches are unique and face different ocean conditions year-round. A strong scientific basis to support permitting for these is necessary, and we hope that members will wait until this report is released to move forward with any legislative action. At that time, we look forward to joining you all at the table and continuing to work with members and our coastal communities on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, this bill is for discussion only. I'm sure the bill sponsors would be happy to meet with anyone else that has concerns, and we will move to the next bill. Thank you, Senator Brinson. And Senator Lazar is recognized to explain Senate Bill 1001.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and for the record, let it be known that I absolutely love sweet potatoes in any format. Baked, cooked, fried, but my all-time favorite is sweet potato fries. Good morning, everyone. Senate Bill 1001 is a regulatory reform bill that is narrow and practical. It's a coastal regulatory reform bill. It does not weaken the environmental standards or remove substantial review. It simply makes the process a bit easier, clearer, and more predictable and more workable for coastal communities. and the permit applicants. I'll go through it and then we can open it up for discussion. First of all, the bill fixes a reoccurring notice problem under CAMA. If an applicant sends certified mail notice to adjacent riparian landowners at the tax address of record, that will constitute a sufficient notice. A permit should not be delayed because someone does not pick up their certified mail, or does not claim it, or does not respond. Second, the bill modernizes dissolved oxygen review for upland basin marinas. It allows applicants to use site-specific data and engineering modeling certified by a North Carolina licensed professional engineer to demonstrate that a design provides adequate flushing and protects aquatic habitat. Third, the bill clarifies financial assurance requirement. If technology is required to meet water quality standards, the applicant must provide a bond or set aside funds equal to 5 years of estimated operation and maintenance costs, protecting the public while giving the applicant a clear, predictable standard. Fourth, the bill makes technical corrections to the Upland Basin Statute, clarifying provision that applies to more than 10 slips rather than 10 or more. Finally, the bill allows the Coastal Storm Damage Mitigation Fund to be used for certain terminal groin permitting, construction, or repair costs when the project is sponsored by a local government and DEQ, let me rephrase that, DEQ determines it provides storm damage mitigation or resiliency benefits to nearby public lands. The bill also appropriates $800,000 in non-recurring funds for the fund. It's a balanced bill. It protects the coast and it preserves the environmental review. I work with DEQ on this, and there's no major opposition. Be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Senator Lazzara. And for the record, I love pizza, and Lazzara's pizza is my favorite. And I'm all up for a field trip to the beach if we need to further, research this bill.
So we invite all of you to come to the coast to eat a sweet potato pizza, specialty of Lazzara's Pizza.
Right.
I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Are there questions from the committee? No questions? Senator Newton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Senator Lazzara, for this bill. Appreciate the work you put into it, and it looks to me like from everything I see and what I know from my own experience that this is a good balance and some good changes. So I just want to speak positively for your bill, and when it's appropriate, I'd make a motion, but I don't know if we're hearing it for a vote
Just
today. So.
But thank you.
Senator Murdoch, you're recognized.
Very serious comment as we consider this collection of bills. Will there be a coastal tour with the sweet potato pizza? Very
Invitation is always open. And members do not pay. Your money is no good at Lazzara's. Come on down.
I love it. We have at least one person signed up to speak, Rob LeMay, on this bill.
Good morning, members. Rob LeMay with the North Carolina Coastal Federation. Senator Lazzara has been a very big advocate for the coast, and I hate to be on the other side of this with you, Senator. So I will say that in the terminal groin conversations we had in 2011 and 2012, there was an important policy, an important seawall, if you will, that separated state dollars on hardened structures on the coast, and that is the prohibition on those state dollars. And by creating a pathway to state funds in this bill, 1001 breaks that seawall, and that has provided really, really important taxpayer protections, both for coastal members and for coastal taxpayers and for inland taxpayers. We think that taxpayer protection has served the state, has served the legislature, served the budget process, and most importantly, taxpayers themselves very, very effectively. would ask both the bill author and the Senate to reconsider creating that pathway to state funds for hardened structures. Thank you very much.
Yes, Senator Lazar,
Rob,
you're recognized.
thank you for those comments. But again, I think I've covered some of that concern by imposing that a local government and DEQ must determine that it provides storm damage mitigation and resiliency benefits to nearby public land. I think that would cover any concerns about those funds being used for new projects. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. If there are no further questions from the committee, there is no further business. This meeting is adjourned.